Council Chambers. I am calling this April 1st, 2025 meeting to order. And let's start with our roll call.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Carr is at a conference. Councilmember Panduro?
Here.
Councilmember Sandu? Here. Councilmember Tonneson?
Here.
Councilmember Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bertani?
Here.
And our mayor is ill tonight.
Thank you very much. Our invocation this evening will be presented by Minister Loretta Robertson from Bethel Community Church. Is Miss Loretta in the house? Here we go. Thank you. You can go right there.
Good evening. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we just come assembled tonight. We give you glory, we give you honor, and we give you praise. We pray for each and every one that's assembled here tonight. Pray that we all come for one common goal, and that is for the city, Solano County, for the good of Solano County. Bless each and every one that's here. Let your will be done. We pray for peace and harmony and unity within the council and with each and every one that's here. We love you, we honor you, we give you glory, honor, praise. In Jesus' name and for his sake alone we pray. Amen.
Amen. Councilwoman Panduro, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And we can begin with our council reports. Councilwoman Williams, would you like to start us off?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I really appreciated the Archway Recovery Services at St. Stephen's Church. They had a groundbreaking, and it was pretty inspirational. A lot of different service providers from all over the county were there, along with healthcare providers and people representing our recovery population from all over. That was pretty powerful. Also, there was a Boudreaux's City Appreciation Barbecue that I attended Friday. And so Boudreaux's is opening in downtown Fairfield. They're going to have two locations, both a restaurant and a beer garden. Both, I believe, are opening this year. They make the best gumbo, the best cracked pepper, garlic crab, and the barbecue was so good on Friday. But what I appreciated most of all is being able to eat and sit with city staff and just get to chat with you all about family, friends, your passions. That was absolutely the highlight of my week. And thank you, Vice Mayor.
Very good. Thank you very much. Councilmember Tonneson.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. What Kay said, and then just some updates on our pickleball tournament coming up in August. We do have a major sponsor now, and it's going to be Camus. And we're still taking on other sponsorships, but it's a professional tournament with upwards of 800 plus people, so it's a big deal for us. The 21st ranked player in the world and below can play in the tournament. The top 20 cannot. And the winner of the tournament is going to get a free ride into the next professional tournament. So it's a pretty big deal for us. We're pretty excited about it. So come on out. We'll give more information as the date gets closer, and Allenwood's going to be packed. So That's all for me, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Panduro, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to share that District 5 has a beautiful new mural. It went up over the last couple of weeks, and this past Saturday, the community was invited with the artist Cherie, along with Sustainable Solano, to come out and put their handprints next to the mural. And so it kind of looks like this. It says Fairfield in full bloom, and it's a bunch of flowers, and all the handprints are also going to become flowers. And she did a survey for the community, and so the community submitted other words to describe the city, and so she's going to take a lot of those words and also add them to the mural. And it's located on the side of Select Furniture at 2001 North Texas Street, so right at the entrance of the linear trail. So it's a really great new addition to the district, and I was really excited to be a part of it. And thank you to all my colleagues who came out and put their handprints up on that mural. And then also, one of the things that we're really proud about Fairfield is how diverse it is. And so one of the events that a lot of us attended, a few of us attended, was the celebration of the Holi Festival of Color. And so Holi is also known as the Festival of Colors. It's a vibrant Hindu festival celebrating spring, love, and the triumph of good over evil, marked by the throwing of colored powder and water, dancing, and singing. And so there was a group of individuals who held this festival over at the Cordelia Park. And we didn't get color thrown at us, but we did get fed delicious Indian food, and just really great to meet that part of the community and celebrate in one of their traditions. And so my day job, I work for CASA Solano County as the outreach coordinator, and so CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And so April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and so I wanted to invite the community and my colleagues on April the 7th, right out here at the plaza. We're going to be having a Child Abuse Prevention Month pinwheel event. So we'll be having different speakers from CASA, the DA's office, Fairfield PD, and the Child Abuse Prevention Council. And we're going to then, after them, place pinwheels, blue pinwheels, out throughout the grass. And each pinwheel is going to represent a call that was made to CPS around for a child there was allegation or abuse or neglect for a child. And so in 2024, there were 1,001 allegations reported. And so this year we were going to put out 251 pinwheels, so one for every 4 calls received. So it's a great way to create awareness and to learn about ways that we can help prevent child abuse and or neglect within our communities. And then lastly, I had an Adopt a Street cleanup on Saturday of North Texas. So myself, along with Fairfield PD, have adopted all of North Texas, and so we go out there once a month to clean up. And the next cleanup is April the 12th at 9 a.m., and we meet over at the PAL Center, and then we disperse out that way. It went really well. We got a lot of really positive honks. I want to say they're positive honks, and just people thanking us out the window for being out there and picking up some of the trash. And that is all, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sandil.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. It's nice to not go first. I get the chance to remember what I did. I want to start off by congratulating Vanden High School's academic decathlon team. They just won another state title, best high school in Fairfield. I'm just kidding. I went to school there, so I'm a big fan of Vanden. And I actually used to be a part of academic decathlon, and it's under the direction of Mr. David Kenyon. He's been running the program very well for many years. I won't say how many, but for many years. And Vanden has won many, many state championships for academic decathlon. We have one of the best programs in Northern California, if not, actually in the state of California when it comes to our division. So I want to open with that. In regards to some of the things I was busy with, one was I had a pleasure of attending the Solano Justice Center Denim and Diamonds event a few days ago. It wasn't just me, though. I'm going to give a shout out to Chief Dan Marshall. I was there with him in attendance, and I think he took home a dessert, maybe, if I remember. That was a great event. And then over the weekend, we had the annual celebration for the Tuskegee Airmen. It was my first time attending this event, and as an Air Force member, it was a really special moment to get to see some of the folks there who were actually descendants of some of the first black airmen in the Air Force who became pilots and really paved the way for many, many folks to serve after them. So that was a wonderful event. The other thing, would love to, and there's been a lot of talk about shipbuilding in Solano County. It's no shock to anybody, probably. This region was built on the backs of the defense industry. and we did a lot to do that. They talk about the things Vallejo did with Mare Island, and I think it's about time that we as a city kind of take a formal, put out a letter of support, to say, Fairfield is the county seat, and we are going to do our best to lead this county into the future. And as a council, we have talked a lot about economic development be a key thing for us to grow. And when you're talking about jobs in trades, engineering, manufacturing, logistics, support services, we can really diversify our economy and not be so reliant on certain industries, and really kind of build up the private sector base of this region. And I would love to kind of get a second from my council potentially to do that in the future in the next coming meetings. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Was that a motion to agendize something, or?
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
assuming if there's support
second.
for it. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you everyone for coming out this evening. It's wonderful to have so many people in the chamber. This is your meeting, and so it's great to have you here with us. And I will be brief. I just want to thank the Clergy Action Network, our local network of churches that works with the government, with our city government and other city leaders. We had our first Fresh Food Festival at Anna-Kyle Elementary School last Wednesday. And Anna-Kyle is in what is defined as a food desert, if you can believe that word exists in the 21st century. That is a defined term, and it means a food desert is a geographical area where fresh food and vegetables are not easily accessible. So the Clergy Action Network went out to Anna-Kyle in our new T-shirts. Pretty nice, huh? And you know what we did? We handed out food and vegetables, fresh food, fresh vegetables. We served over 250 people showed up to shop. They had shopping bags, fresh food and vegetables galore. It was a fantastic event. The pictures are worth 1,000 words. And you can go to our website at fairfieldclergyactionnetwork.com. The pictures are there, and it really shows the orderly, just communion of the community around fresh food and vegetables. So it was a great event. We'll hopefully do those quarterly. It was our first and certainly not our last. And I'll also announce for Fairfield Can, our National Day of Prayer is scheduled for Thursday, May 1st, right here in these chambers at noon. And it's open to all, so come one and all for that. And we meet on the fourth Tuesday of every month. And we meet at the Fairfields in Willow Hall, or I guess it'll be Willow Hall this time, but in that building, the community building, community center, right here, 1000 Kentucky Street. So that means our next meeting for Fairfield Can is on Tuesday, the 22nd of April at 3 p.m. Join us. We're doing great things. We're on the move, serving the community. And with that, Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Just one quick thing to report to you all. As we know, right now, Sacramento is in full swing in the legislative cycle. A couple meetings ago, we had Jason Gonzalez from Joey Gonzalez and Son here giving you all a legislative update. We're getting very active in that space. Thank you to Liz Aptekar on my team for keeping us straight and tracking the 1,000+ bills that are working their way through Sacramento right now. Tomorrow morning, I have the honor, I'm going to be going up to Sacramento for the California Senate Committee just to give some testimony in support of Senate Bill 299. It is a bill that was brought by our senator, Senator Cabaldon, that looks to do streamlining for zoning ordinances and amendments effectively once your general plan, if you have an adopted general plan or housing element, often changing the zoning code sort of lags behind that. So what the intent of the legislation is to make ministerial approvals possible in order to speed up housing development or mixed-use development. So with us having recently adopted a new general plan, as well as a housing element the year before, we think this is a good piece of legislation. So I'm going to go and support our support for this and support our Senator Cabaldon. That's my report.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, your report?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, your report.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to let everyone know the Landscape Oversight Committee is still seeking an applicant for District 2, which is Councilmember Tonneson's district. And then on a separate note, the deadline to apply for the Fairfield 101 Civic Academy is April 11th. I put a few applications in the back lobby on the table. This is a 10-week course that meets on Thursday nights from 6 to 8:30 p.m. where an overview of each city department is presented each week, and graduation will be on August 5th during the council meeting. And that's it. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. And we now turn to public comments.
I think we have presentations first, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I've got public comments on mine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, first presentations.
All right.
I think that happened once before, so I'll check with Esther on the agenda.
Okay, presentation number 1.
Proclamation declaring Education and Sharing Day, presented by Vice Mayor Bertani to Rabbi Zaklos.
Good evening, Rabbi. And this is for you. You can hold that up. This is a proclamation for Education and Sharing Day, which is April 9, 2025. Whereas the basis for the continuity of any society is education, and in the great city of Fairfield, the education of our youth is a priority. Whereas in order to achieve its highest goals, education must not only impart knowledge, but also teach the students how to live, how to form, and strengthen their moral character to make a better life for themselves as individuals and for society as a whole. Impart moral and ethical values that have been the bedrock of society since the dawn of civilization, including the values known as the 7 Noahide laws. Whereas the global spiritual leader and leading advocate for the advancement of education, the Rebbe Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson of righteous memory, stressed that a moral and ethical education empowers every individual to develop their full potential in making this world a better place. Whereas such an education can nurture the unity of diverse peoples through encouraging increased acts of goodness and kindness, imbued with the awareness that even a single positive act of an individual can change the world and usher in an era of global peace when there will be peace within your walls, serenity within your mansions, citing Psalm 122. Whereas Education and Sharing Day is observed each year on the Rebbe's birthday in recognition of his outstanding and lasting contributions toward the improvement of education, morality, and acts of charity around the world. A day to pause, a day to reflect on our responsibility to ensure our youth have the foundation necessary to lead lives rich in purpose and fulfillment through service and good works. And whereas April 9th, 2025 will mark 123 years since Rebbe's birth, capping a year in which thousands of new institutions and initiatives were launched through the world in tribute to this celebration. Now therefore, Catherine Catmoy, Mayor of the City of Fairfield, does hereby proclaim April 9th, 2025 to be Education and Sharing Day in the City of Fairfield, and calls upon government officials, educators, volunteers, and citizens to reach out to those within your communities to work together to create a better, brighter, and more promising future for all. Congratulations. Thank you. Would you like to say something?
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
My pleasure.
You said it best. And thank you, City Council, for the special honor. With this proclamation, the City of Fairfield proudly joins the President, governors, and mayors in dozens of states and hundreds of other cities and townships in designating the Rebbe's birthday, which has always been celebrated 4 days before the holiday of Passover, as Education and Sharing Day in tribute of his outstanding dedication to education. This has been done in cities around the world since 1978, and we still have we've made tremendous progress, but we still have where to go. So with that, I know you have a long agenda. I'm going to keep my comments short, but I do encourage everyone to look into their own personal lives and areas of influence, whether they're parents, leaders in their communities, or political figures, to do whatever we can to really put a big emphasis on making sure that our youth grow up in the ways that we'd love them to be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Would you like to take a picture?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next presentation is proclamation declaring National Volunteer Appreciation Month, presented by Councilmember Doris Panduro to the Food Bank of Contra Costa and Solano Counties, VP of Development and Communications, Kim Castaneda. Oh, and she has some colleagues with her.
Come on up. Hi. All right. So National Volunteer Appreciation Month, April 2025. Whereas the month of April has been designated as National Volunteer Month, the Food Bank of Contra Costa and Solano Counties requests the City of Fairfield's support in recognizing the impact that volunteers have on leading the fight to end hunger within our community. And whereas last year, the Food Bank hosted over 7,000 volunteers who provided more than 100,000 volunteer hours in 2024, adding up to 50 full-time employees. And whereas the food bank would not be able to serve the community without the support of dedicated volunteers. And whereas everyone needs nutritious food to thrive, and in every community in America, people are working hard to provide for themselves and their families. With the support of volunteers, the food bank distributes more than 2 million meals monthly to our neighbors in need. And whereas the volunteers of the food bank support staff with inspecting, sorting, and packing food, bagging produce in the Fairfield warehouse, and distributing food to neighbors in need each month. Whereas the City of Fairfield is committed to working with the food bank, a member of the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks, in educating people about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and how they can join the food bank in leading the fight to end hunger in Solano County through volunteering. And whereas the food bank will celebrate volunteers throughout the month of April to bring awareness to the impact that volunteering with the food bank has in their mission in leading the fight to end hunger in our community. Now, therefore, Catherine Catmoy, Mayor of the City of Fairfield, does hereby proclaim the month of April as National Volunteer Appreciation Month in the City of Fairfield, and we honor the many accomplished volunteers who graciously give their time and talents to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring volunteers. We could not do the work that we do without them, and Councilmember Derice already talked about the stats. So I just want to say with the food bank is that it's not just our volunteers, but our community. It's truly a community-driven organization. Without the volunteers, without our community, without our agency partners, both in Solano and Contra Costa County, we would not be able to serve the 2.7 million meals a month that we do. So again, thank you so much for honoring our volunteers. We couldn't do it without them. They're the reason that we can do everything. And we'll be celebrating them all month. So come on down and volunteer. We're right here in Fairfield if you want to get some volunteer hours in. Thank you.
Thanks, Derice.
Very nice, thank you. And with that, we will now move to public comments.
Yes, public comments. Persons wishing to address the City Council on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. The council cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but council members may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public, ask for clarification from staff, refer the matter to staff, request staff to report back to the council at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. If you're online to speak on an agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item as determined by the mayor. And I also have speaker cards for those that are here. And our first speaker is John Tomko.
Good evening.
Good evening. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well, sir. How about you?
Okay, I got one question for the vice mayor, the city manager, and the city attorney. I live on the street. We, law-abiding citizen, lives on the street. Nottingham Drive, 2200 block. Since 2019, there have been a lot of speeders. We're trying to notify the police. Nothing happened. They set their equipment up for speeders and all, check how fast they're doing. As soon as they find this out, they slow down the speed. So your traffic manager or safety guy did it again a few months ago. When the people see this stuff sitting on the street there, the cables across, what do, they slow down. And everybody tells me that, or us, that lives on that street, there's no speeders. So they sent out a patrol car, marked patrol car. When you're driving down the street, you see a patrol car and you're speeding, what do? You slow down, okay? We need some help over there. 2019 is a long time. We caught people going between 40 and 60 miles an hour in one block, from Stanford Lane up to Bolton. The mayor has 4 letters for me, plus my phone numbers to give me a call to find out what they are doing. Nothing happens. Police chief of police, nothing happens. I called the dispatch. I got 2 phone numbers. I called them when they catch the speeders. We call them up, nothing happens. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, sir, thank you. Our chief of police is standing right back there, and I know that they have a systematic approach to handling these different, there are a lot of neighborhoods, including Rolling Hills, where we need to slow the traffic down as well. We have a school out there. So I'm going to just ask you to talk to our chief, and he will direct you to where you need to go, and you can call me directly as well.
Okay, traffic safety guy, and we cannot put up speed limits. I understand because of first responders, because it takes them a long time to go to the speed bumps. That's one straight area, from Tabor all the way up to Bolton. But thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're very welcome, and our chief is stepping out there right now. Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Jerry Widrick.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I reside in the Rolling Hills area of Fairfield, and like yourself, we have adopted Hillborn Drive as a street for cleanup once a month for the garbage. So my question is there any type of ordinance or a deterrent for the trash that's thrown out along Hillborn? Majority of it's probably thrown out of windows from vehicles. Is there any type of deterrent that we could post, any type of sign? When I was a kid, they used to have signs, littering, $250 fine. Does the city of Fairfield have anything like that that could be posted to deter all these vehicles throwing out their trash? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you, neighbor. Mr. City Manager? Do we post signs like that, like Jerry just said?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. The one to ask is the chief, who's already out talking about
Take
speeding.
a number.
Certainly, yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look into that
So
question.
from manual compost to Waterman, the no parking or stopping, I counted these, it's probably a 2-mile stretch. There's 80 of these signs. It would be nice to have at least 5 no littering. Thank you.
It's my neighborhood too. I understand. I get it. Please talk to Chief Marshall. Yes. Yeah, caller number 2. But seriously, Jerry, take.
Did
okay.
you want to speak on public comment? Yes. Oh, okay. Ms. Ellis Lamka?
That's okay. It's my handwriting.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and City Council. My name is Phaedra Ellis Lampkins. I've never been to a City Council meeting, so it's fascinating.
Welcome.
Thank you. I run a couple of businesses in Fairfield, one a software company. We employ about 80 people. Our average wage is $150,000 to $250,000 a year. And also just opening an Orange Theory in Green Valley, and I used to represent a musician here in Fairfield. And so we run businesses that most people don't know exist in the city of Fairfield, mostly software engineers, and our clients are governments across the country, from the state of Florida to the state of Hawaii to the state of Mississippi and others. I want to talk to you about the quality of life, specifically in Green Valley, and our concerns for our employees and the people that are living there. First, increasingly there are encampments. We see one that's just beginning behind Safeway. And part of why we talk about it is we're trying to get folks to be able to live and work here. We want to grow. We have other centers in, most of our employees are now, we're moving to Washington, D.C. We would love Fairfield to be a place that people felt safe, that people move their families. And the number of photos I get when we bring prospective employees of Nitzel Road, if I'm saying that right, with photos of trash. And I know we're in trouble because some of our employees have not wanted to move because they live in San Francisco, and they sent me articles about camping ordinances, panhandling ordinances, and things that other cities are doing. So this is just my deep concern. I'm not sure what I can do as a business owner, but as a business owner that asks nothing from the city, only brings money into the city, and really high quality jobs. Every job we have, even in our call center, pays a living wage, provides benefits and stock options. So this is just a request around cleanup. We have people on Chadbourne Road. We've been trying to find a larger space. We've been working to try to find, we need 10,000 more square feet. And so this is just, I don't know what we can do or how to do it, but to not be able to attract high-quality talent with high-paying jobs because they see the state of the way that the city looks, especially when we bring them in from other cities, and we put people at that Residence Inn. We're glad that there's a new hotel right there because we often can't find space, and people feel unsafe at that hotel next to the In-N-Out. And so I don't know what business owners can do, but I just wanted to come because it is a problem for us. We cannot convince people to move here because they're concerned about the way that the city looks. And so happy to do whatever, but just wanted to come and say, hey, we're an employer, we employ people, you probably don't know we exist, but we would love to be able to grow here, and we're having trouble.
Super great to have you here.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your comments. the first thing you got to do is report the encampments. We
did. We reported it on the app.
Okay.
We called the non-emergency police line. We have taken photos in the app. We've posted on Nextdoor with our employees. So I just want to be clear, we have been pretty aggressive at trying to figure some of this stuff out. Because we have a lot of data people, they went and found that some of this is Caltrans land, or, I don't understand enough, but the fact that, so they have used the app, and I guess they take photos and report it.
That's right,
So
and
yes.
that way we can track it, and you're saying it still hasn't been cleared up?
No, and then we talked to the sheriff because they were concerned that some of the places were county, and I know the law has shifted and changed, but other cities are like aggressively trying to get companies to move there, and so it's been somewhat frustrating that we've never had a conversation about our software business, that we've grown, and that we're having these basic problems and using the systems and tools that we've been told exist and not receiving response or change. So we called the non-emergency police line. They've reported it in the app where you have to take photos and put the street.
Okay.
And
All right.
so we've not received. So
Here's my card, call me directly.
okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did anyone else wish to speak on public comment? I know I have a lot of cards for items 02 and 03, but did anyone wish to speak now?
Before we move off that, I believe that Councilwoman Williams would like to comment as well.
Phaedra?
Oh, did she leave?
There, she's there. Phaedra? We'll be in contact with you as well. So I'm the representative for Green Valley, and Scott is, Tonneson, is right next door. Thank you for coming. Thank you for reporting.
Thank you.
And we'll be in contact with you as well, okay?
Great. Yeah, we'd love to grow here. Like we would.
We want you to grow here.
And on your way out, I'll just mention too that we do have an anti-camping ordinance. And at our last city council meeting, the chief of police introduced an amendment to our ordinance to really give it some teeth so that an infraction, which basically is kind of meaningless, has now become a misdemeanor. So we now have the ability to have our officers and our HIT team go out and clear encampments. And for repeat offenders, we're going to stop playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I think that's great because like we reported it because we're like one is the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And like we're opening Orange Theory, so people have things to do here, and so we have other folks who would open more franchises or think they want things in the community. So we worked with the landlord. We were like, hey,
We got it.
yeah. So really
Understood.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
We're on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there aren't any hands raised online either, so.
Okay, so we will now move to the successor agency consent calendar. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
Did anyone wish to speak on the successor agency consent? I don't have any cards and there are no hands raised.
Would you? Successor agency consent. Okay, no problem. So if there are no comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, do you want to announce the successor agency, go into session as successor agency, and then call the consent calendar?
I'm sorry, what?
You need to read the introduction to item L.
Oh, okay, usually when it's on consent, I don't read the item, but I'll read it. Resolution.
No, just the all matters. You didn't
I'm
convene,
sorry.
you didn't
You're right.
convene the successor agency and call for consent calendar.
Yeah, you're right. Thank
Sorry.
you. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the agency or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item. And again, did anyone wish to speak on this matter?
And I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. So moved?
Second.
Second. Do we need to do a roll call, or is it okay to do? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And now we reconvene the city council meeting for the city council's consent calendar.
Okay, and I'll read the statement again. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the city council or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item. And did anyone wish to speak on any of the items N1 through N5? I don't have any speaker cards.
Seeing no yes, ma'am. N1, would you like to remove that from consent for discussion? Yes. Okay.
Okay, then let me read that item. N1, Resolution 2025-48, Amendment Number 1 to the Memorandum of Understanding for Cost Sharing of the Lopes Road and Water Pipeline Reconstruction. Approving the Amendment Number 1 to the Memorandum of Understanding Amendment Number 1 between the City of Fairfield and the City of Benicia for cost sharing of the Lopes Road and Water Pipeline Reconstruction Project, and authorizing the city manager to execute the amendment on behalf of the city. And we do have Jason Riley, our Assistant City Engineer, here too.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams?
Thank you. So my question, because of course this resolution is about cost sharing of the Lopes Road repair, 75% for the city of Fairfield, 25% to be paid by the city of Benicia. And it's tied to reimbursements, and it looks like by FEMA, which of course is a federal government agency. So my question is about exposure. What is City of Fairfield's exposure to pay for expenses, send it for a reimbursement, and not be paid back?
That's a great question.
Can you turn your mic on, sir? Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. So great question. We've been meeting with FEMA weekly since January. We submitted an urgency letter in March, just outlining the health and safety for this project to be approved. The project currently, just to give a little background, the project's currently about 65% design level. We're waiting for FEMA to give their final blessing on our design so it can move forward. Now, as far as the reimbursements, we won't know what is eligible for reimbursements until we do submit for reimbursement. So we need that approval of our design in order to construct the project, and then we will submit everything that's been constructed and get reimbursements. Now, the reimbursements, this is a very complicated project. There's two federal agencies. There's FHWA and FEMA. There's a state agency, Cal OES, that also has some level of reimbursement. And then there's the cities of Benicia and City of Fairfield. So the 75-25 split that's in the amendment to the MOU is just for the local share. So we're still anticipating that the full FEMA reimbursement at 75%, 18% from the state, and then the rest will be the local share.
And my final question is it to your understanding that the money is already allocated for us? So we've already been approved, that money is sitting there to the best of your knowledge, and it's just waiting for those reimbursements?
It has not yet been approved. So we don't have a guaranteed obligation at this point.
Oh.
That's why in January we started meeting weekly and we said we need to get that obligation. We can't miss another construction season, and we want to get this project out to bid, but we can't do that until we get that obligation, which not guarantees, but it actually locks in the reimbursement amount. So that's what we're working on. We're hoping to get that in the next month, and we'll be back in front of this council to award a construction award after that.
And thank you. That's the word I was looking for, obligation. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Now I have a question on it. If we can't get to the construction season, what would stop that? I mean, would rain knock us out?
Well, what I mean by we don't want to miss this construction season, we need to bid this project. And in order to bid the project, we have to get assurance from FEMA that the funding will be reimbursed. Otherwise, we have about $5 million on the line. So we have to get that approval from FEMA and FHWA before we can bid, which takes a few months, and then we can start construction. So the first order of work will be to put the water lines in, that's the health and safety, and then we can top that with the roadway. But we're anticipating that this project is now going to go into 2026 before we finalize
And
construction.
FEMA moves at lightning speed, correct?
That's
Yeah.
been a challenge.
Right. Okay, thank you. Colleagues, any other questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to, yes, sir?
Public comment?
Public comment? I thought we already asked one. Any public comment on the consent calendar for the city council or on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Actually, Madam Vice Mayor, I think you need to approve item
N1.
N1 first and then go back to consent calendar for approval.
I stand corrected. Let me take a motion to approve item N1. And
Second.
is all in favor?
Aye.
And now, a motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously, and that takes us to new business. Item 0. Let's get to work, that's correct. Item 0.1.
Thank you. Minute action approving the mayor's appointments. Minute action approving mayor's appointments to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Advisory Committee, Landscape Oversight Committee, and the Youth Commission. So I just need a motion to approve these appointments before I administer the oath.
Okay, do we have any public speakers on this item?
I do not. Did anyone wish to speak on this item?
Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll call up the individuals that I have the privilege of administering the oath to. From the CDBG Advisory Committee, we have Verna Brooks, Elaine Clark, DeAndre Richard, and Tina Werblin. I believe Harriet Strickland is unable to attend tonight. If you could just come up to the center here. And then also LaTroy Smith for the Landscape Oversight Committee, representing District 6. And then Youth Commissioners Lauren DeMasip, Ariel Hewang or Wong, and Kian Wilson.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We don't bite, come on back. We're on good behavior tonight.
Testing? Okay. And then after I swear all of you in, I have your certificates here, and I need you to sign your oaths as well. And then I have jelly bellies for you and city Fairfield pins. Okay, so if you could all raise your right hand and repeat after me. First, we're going to just say I and our individual names. I. Okay, and then now all together, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Should I do a photo first and then give them the certificates? Maybe you two two can come over on this side. Yeah, just because. Yeah.
The yin and the yang, right?
More level. There we go. Perfect. Okay, everyone, smile. I'll take a few. Congratulations, everyone. Okay. And then I need you all to sign your certificate, your oaths. Okay, so this is for Lauren. She's not here, Lauren? Lauren, no, that's right. Ariel? And how do you pronounce your last name? Wayne, okay.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you. Give you some jelly beans. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, Trey. Congratulations. Congratulations. Kian? Hello. Go ahead and sign there. Thank you for serving. Okay, Kian, okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you for serving.
Right there. That's your certificate. Thank you. Whoops, got it? Okay, uh-huh.
Who's next?
Verna? Hey, I like your outfit. How you doing? Sign right there. Thank you so much. Thank you. And let me give you your certificate too. Thank you for serving. Thank you. And Elaine?
Thank you for serving.
Yeah, I'm excited. Good. And we'll keep this and
Some sugar to keep you excited.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for serving. DeAndre? I know you've been here before. Nice to see you again. Congratulations.
Close up.
Thank you. I will keep that, and I will give you these.
Cool, thank you.
And your certificate. Thanks so much.
That might be the good pack.
Yeah, I'm hoping it seems like that.
Just a little CBD there.
Tina? Tina, nice to see you again.
Thank you for serving.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Certificate. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. And LaTroy. Last but not last.
What the heck is that?
Last but not least on there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And here you go. And then I will keep this. Oops, sorry. Give you your certificate. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Used to? Used to. Did I just say used to? Got to. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you for everyone, for our wonderful volunteers serving on behalf of the city. We do not take your service for granted and appreciate you very, very much. So thank you for stepping up to the plate. And we will move now to item 0.2.
0.2, increasing the number of at-large landscape oversight committee members. Discussion and direction regarding increasing the number of at-large landscape oversight committee members. And our presenter is Chris Lewis, Senior Management Analyst from Public Works.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight's item is a request to the Council to discuss increasing the number of at-large landscape oversight committee members from the current one member at-large to any number of members at-large the Council sees fit. Just for a quick history of the committee, especially for our newest council member and our newest landscape oversight committee member, the committee was established in 2023 to provide oversight of the city's landscaping and lighting maintenance districts, or LLMDs, and oversight of all landscaping areas funded by the general fund. The committee's current structure consists of 7 members, 6 of whom were appointed by each of the council members who represent your respective council district areas, and a 7th member who was appointed by the mayor representing the city at large. As the LLMDs are a primary focus of this committee, I just wanted to give you some context and a little visual so you can see where the LLMDs fit into these council boundaries. So this map here on the screen shows the city council district boundaries. They're outlined in blue. And then you can see the LLMD districts there in yellow. We do have a few LLMDs that overlap 2 districts there to the north. If anybody wants to review this map in more detail, it is available on our LLMD website. My written staff report will tell you that the committee currently has 2 vacancies in districts 2 and 6, and at the time I wrote the staff report, that was true, but as about a couple minutes ago, we do have our newest member appointed to District 6, so welcome and congratulations to Mr. Smith. The District 6 seat was vacant as of December 2024 until just now, and we currently still have a vacancy in District 2 as of October 2024. So this committee regularly meets quarterly, and since its inception, the committee has scheduled a total of 6 regular meetings and 2 special meetings, as shown here on this slide. The April and July meetings were canceled due to a lack of quorum. Although we did have a full committee at the time, all seats were filled. There were just various reasons why members weren't able to attend, including we did have 1 member on an extended approved leave of absence. That person is back with us as of February, so we're grateful to have them back with us. We did have a regular meeting also scheduled for October of 2024. We did have to push that meeting to December because, again, there were various scheduling conflicts. And on February 27th, the Landscape Oversight Committee and the City Council Subcommittee to the Landscape Oversight Committee, that consists of Vice Mayor Bertani and Councilmember Williams, they held a joint meeting on February 27th during which both groups discussed and expressed their concern for the lack of quorum during 2024. And then also concern for a couple of the vacancies, again, at which time there were 2 vacancies and now only 1 in District 2. So as a possible solution to this quorum issue, they discussed increasing the number of at-large committee members so that on any given meeting day, there's just a little bit more room to accommodate unexpected absences or even unexpected vacancies. So as we know, life comes up. All the folks on these committee are volunteers. They are volunteering their time to be on this committee. And, you know, as with all of us, we can't attend every single meeting. So the idea in the discussions between the Landscape Oversight Committee and Subcommittee is that if there are more members, it'll probably give some room to accommodate those absences and vacancies. So at that February 27th meeting, both groups discussed and decided they'd like to put in a request to put forth to the council to increase the number of at-large Landscape Oversight Committee members. So the recommended action for you today is to hold that discussion and provide direction to staff. So depending on the outcome of this discussion, if the discussion results in any changes to the number of Landscape Oversight Committee members or any other substantive changes to the committee, staff would work towards amending the guidelines and duties document. That is the document that was adopted as part of the committee formation with Resolution 2023-26. This document is also provided in attachment 2 to the staff report in your packet. So depending on the decision today, staff would amend that, and then we'd bring it back to council for final approval at a later date. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
I do have 2 cards, Sue Campbell.
Okay.
And Rick Johnson.
Great. Ms. Campbell?
Yeah. And if anyone else would like to speak, I'll have you fill out a card, please.
Good evening.
I have a comment on each of these 2 items. Hello, council members.
So we're just speaking to item 0.2, the number of people on the committee.
That's right.
First, and then we'll go to
Yes.
the next item when we're done.
I recently attended the Landscape Oversight Committee, and I got to know various members of the committee, and I was really stunned at how little they had met. We're into our 2nd year now. We need more people to be able to be there. Because I haven't seen a list of things that have been accomplished because there have been so many times when a quorum has not been met. So as far as 0.2, I heartily recommend adding some more members so that we can get some momentum going. At the very least, that's what I'm asking the council to consider. I support Rick. I think he's an amazing person. He's running a great committee. But in my chats with him, they're going to need some more people. So that's what I just want to say yay to that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Rick?
Rick is our next speaker.
Thank you for the kind words, Sue. Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Vice Mayor Bertani, Council Members Williams, Tonneson, Pandoro, Sandhu, Mr. City Manager, and Mr. City Attorney. First, that's all I'm going to say on this. For me, that's nothing. I want to thank Chris so much for presenting this topic, and there's very little for me to add other than that the committee truly will benefit by having 2 additional members that are going to be able to be selected from anywhere in the city based on just their passion to want to help, to volunteer, to really make things better. And it's hard. In our districts, we have not an even distribution, as you saw on the map, of LLMDs in the districts. We have one district that has 1, and we have another district that has 4. So it's been a little bit difficult. So having 2 additional at-large members is going to tremendously benefit our ability to be able to tackle what we're working with and to not have quorum issues going forward. So again, I want to thank Chris. Her information was 100% supportable, and I thank you again. And I do ask for your support in these 2 additional positions, if that's the number that you select, that it will be very effective for us and will be a more effective committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Okay, and there are no hands raised online.
Okay, so let's bring it back for council discussion. Colleagues, any comments? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I do agree that we need to increase the number of vacancies, but, number of spaces.
At large.
At large members. But, I just want to make sure that it's not an even number, it's an odd number, is one thing. And then the second thing is, how do we provide balance for those members at large? For example, right now, they are districted, and then the mayor has an at-large person represented. So what I was thinking is, well, what happens if the Tonneson fills District 2, and then it turns out that for this general at-large seats, they just so happen to live in District 2 as well. Does that kind of sway the votes in a way that's not balanced? It's just something I wanted us to think through. I don't know what the answer is.
I would say no, because at-large is at-large, and we do have representation in each district. So instead of, saying, oh, this district is vacant, let's take that seat away, that would be problematic. But as long as each district has an opportunity for representation on this committee, the at-large are at-large. And they're at-large because the other districts are duly represented or should be duly represented on this board. So we're not taking anything away to create a lack of balance. We're adding for the reasons that have already been mentioned, and because in addition to the quorum issue, we have some enthusiastic, very knowledgeable people in this city who know this stuff. And it's not intuitive, at least to me, to my brain. It's not intuitive, and it really, you have to kind of get down in the weeds a little bit with this, and we have people who know how to do it, who are saying, yes, I want to volunteer. Who are we to say no?
Yeah.
Is my point. So I don't think that it creates any kind of lack of balance. I think that we maintain balance by maintaining representation in every district. Every district has a seat at the table. And we're just adding capacity for the reasons that have been stated, and because we need help. We need help.
Yeah, Vice Mayor, so when when the seat was up in District 1, I interviewed 6 or 7 people, and you want to talk about hard to pick. They were all pretty phenomenal and brought a lot of insight that I hadn't thought about, surrounding budget, surrounding what type of plants should be there that could survive, not being maintained on a regular basis, all of that. So I agree. I think there are a lot of people that can influence this, and I absolutely support increasing.
Very good. Councilmember Sandu?
I'm actually, just to achieve the same goal, I'd like to maybe even consider the opposite. Because, I mean, if you increase the number of folks, right, the quorum actually goes up in size. So it's almost harder to meet quorum if there's 9 members. The quorum now is like 5 or 4 at least, right? Or actually 5 on 9. I don't think we could do this, but I would recommend, or at least if it's even legal to do it, but make it smaller. The quorum is much easier to achieve. If the goal is we need quorum, if you add board members, it becomes, the quorum itself is a higher threshold now to hit. And I think you risk having more meetings with less people. At least you have the potential for it, because the quorum size is higher. It doesn't stay the same. As an idea, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I guess my non-statistical answer to that one is, we also increase the probability of having enough people because we have more people that could possibly show up to make the quorum, number one. And number two, as important as the quorum issue is, again, the enthusiasm and brain capacity that we need on this very complicated matter that really impacts our neighborhoods, our property values, the beauty of our city. Like Councilmember Williams just said, this is the Landscape Oversight Committee. It's not just LLMDs. This is for the entire beautification of our entire city, and we have people who have expertise in what plants go downtown, what will look better for shade, and all those kind of things. We have people who actually want to do it, and they know how. So, I mean, I see what you're saying, that we're increasing the number of people necessary to create a quorum, and at the same time, we're increasing the number of people who are available to make that quorum.
One other thing, just a question to maybe staff. Do we have a policy on how many meetings you can miss before you get automatically removed from the commission or the committee?
That is something that staff, together with the Landscape Oversight Committee, is working to adjust. In the guidelines document, I don't believe there's any policy, but we are working on creating a policy for unexcused absences.
I'd be open to considering a more strenuous position of, hey, this committee meets quarterly or not monthly. So if you miss 1 or 2 unexcused, you're automatically off the committee. And I think if we incentivize attendance and not just, hey, I might come, might not come, we'll see that day of. I think that could be another way to ensure that with the folks we already have, and to empower them even more, add a negative incentive of not coming, which is you'll be removed automatically, won't even come before council. 2 unexcused and you're done. And that could be another way to ensure that they actually attend the meeting. So we have some enforcement mechanism, because other boards do have policies like that to ensure attendance in other jurisdictions on nonprofits and stuff, to where they do ensure that folks come. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, council members? Councilmember Tonneson.
I'm in line with Councilmember Sandu, not to increase, but I'd like to look at a different angle. And I've had numerous meetings with my brother from another mother, Mr. Johnson, and I've talked to the city attorney, and and I can kind of bleed in our next item. Our next item is discussing 218s. So I think we need a 218 committee, a campaign committee. We've got a bunch of people that have showed up here. I've met with Rick numerous times saying, let's not put the cart before the horse. You got all these people that are interested now. Kudos to you. There's a lot of people that see this now. That is a great campaign committee. The city, a 218 campaign. A 218 campaign is just like one of our campaigns. You get a campaign manager, you get a group of individuals that are going to knock and walk and talk and do all that. And I know that item's coming up, so I just want to lay the groundwork for that. I don't think the Landscape Oversight Committee should be increased. I think that we should focus more on a 218 committee. If we pass those 218s with the energy that's in this room, and I know, Rick, you don't get tired, but you actually told me you were tired today, so that was a first for me. But the thing with 218s is the city can't get involved. The city, we can't do that, but is there a district or districts that you would like to focus on more than another? Is there something, Mr. City Manager, I think I was talking about, maybe the city can pay for an engineer's report or for a couple of districts, or is there a way that the city can get involved to where we're not, or Mr. City Attorney, do we need to wait for the next item for that? Or can we kind of mold these two together?
I would wait until we get to that next item.
Okay, so I would not support increasing the number of LOC members.
Councilmember Panduro.
Thank you. I know a lot of our other, well, like the Planning Commission also has an attendance policy, and I think that's definitely something that could be done with this one. If that's been an issue, then I think that would be the solution to hopefully fix that. But I also, I think, would agree to just keep it as is, and then maybe like figure out a way how to make sure these folks are at the table when making these decisions, so that we don't have these quorum issues. So if it's attendance or if it's any other incentive, then go about it that way than adding more people, because I think that's correct. And if you add more people, then the number increases. You have to make sure more people are there to make decisions. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, colleagues? The last thing I'll just say is that in support of increasing the number of Landscape Oversight Committee members is that we're organized in districts, and sometimes we can get focused on our district. But I remember a time of serving in an at-large capacity when everybody on this city council had to be elected by all of the residents. And so all of the residents, that was our focus. And I respectfully submit that that should be our focus. The Landscape Oversight Committee is not just for your district, or this is for our city as a whole. And we have people who are volunteering their time, expertise, energy, and enthusiasm to serve. Who am I to say no? So with that, I will call the vote on whether we should increase the Landscape Oversight Committee by 2 at-large members, which will be creating a 9-member board with 3 at-large and 6 districts. Did I do the math right on that? All right. So all in favor, aye. And I'm a yes. I mean, we're
No.
okay. So I've got yes, no, no.
No.
Okay. So that motion fails.
Sure. For the council's consideration, is there anything specific for that attendance policy you'd like us to include? As I mentioned, we are working on creating a policy together with the Landscape Oversight Committee, along with a few other changes and additions and clarifications to that guidelines document. Is there something specific you'd like us to include? As it stands right now, the committee does have 4 regular meetings quarterly. They've just adopted on February 27th 4 special meetings, so this year we'll meet 8 times. At present, our ideas so far that we've been throwing around, the attendance policy only pertains to the regular meetings, not the special meetings, but we're happy to take your recommendations and direction.
Councilmember Sandhu, we have a policy for all of the committees. Could we institute the same for all of the planning? It's the same Same policy, it was 12 months, 2 meetings, 12 months or something like that. Can we mimic planning commission?
Yes, yeah, you absolutely can, if that's what,
If you're
that's
good
what
with
you'd
that.
like.
I'm open to suggestions. I'd refer to the vice mayor on this one. Do you have any preference on?
We have a set of rules that we use with other committee meetings. Use it. Okay, so with that, we will move to item 0.3.
03, Proposition 218 balloting process for landscaping and lighting maintenance districts. Discussion and direction regarding a Proposition 218 balloting process for 7 landscaping and lighting maintenance districts. And again, our presenter is Chris Lewis, Senior Management Analyst.
All right. Good evening, everybody, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. The item tonight is a request for the council to consider or reconsider the decision to pause all Proposition 218 balloting efforts for 7 landscaping and lighting maintenance districts, or LLMDs. In 2023, the city conducted a Proposition 218 balloting process to increase assessments in 9 LLMDs, and ballots were not approved in the 7 LLMDs shown here on the screen. Not approved by the property owners, I should say. And since then, services have been reduced based on each district's available budget. Just as a reference, so you can kind of see where those 7 districts fit within the council districts, here's that same map I presented in my last item. Some of the property owners from these districts have expressed not only their concern for the current condition of the landscaping in their neighborhoods, but also their interest in possibly conducting another Proposition 218 balloting process. They've indicated their interest in even increasing their assessment rates so that they can get their service levels back up to the pre-2023 levels. As a result of this interest, the Landscape Oversight Committee began discussing some ideas on what that second vote could possibly look like. They've been having those discussions at several meetings over the past, over several of their meetings, the Landscape Oversight Committee meetings over the past year. At the January 25th City Council retreat, the Public Works Director presented to the Council the estimated cost for this second balloting process for the 7 districts. The Council deliberated, and at the end of that discussion, staff was directed to pause all Proposition 218 efforts for those 7 districts. And I just want to clarify, I keep specifying the 7 districts. I'm doing that intentionally. We do have other LLMDs, 3 as of right now that we know of that have not gone through the Proposition 218 balloting process, but will need to in the next couple years because they too face a budgeting shortfall similar to what these 7 districts faced back in 2023. So the discussion at the council retreat and tonight's item is concentrated on just those 7 LLMDs that went through the process in 2023. Following the council retreat on February 27th, the Landscape Oversight Committee, together with the City Council Subcommittee to the Landscape Oversight Committee, they held a joint meeting and during which both groups discussed the decision that was made at the council retreat, and both groups requested that an item be brought forth to the full council for reconsideration of that decision. So tonight's item, tonight's recommended action for council is to discuss that decision that was made on January 25th, the decision being to pause Proposition 218 efforts for these 7 districts. Should the outcome of this discussion result in us resuming those Prop 218 efforts, staff is either looking for specific direction, any next steps you'd like us to take, or you could also direct us to come back to you at a later date with some options on what resuming those actions would look like. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
Yes. Again, Sue Campbell, we'll start with, and John Takeuchi next. Okay, then John Takeuchi, thank you. And to be followed by Les Johnson.
Good evening, council members. I'm using the handicap chair because I got a bum leg here, but it's getting better. The last time this came up here, I spoke with you, and I reminded you that I don't live in a Melrose district. The city takes care of our landscaping and our streets and everything like that, and it comes out of my property taxes. The landscaping and stuff that's done in these 9 districts or whatever, however many there are now, ought to come out of their property taxes too. Okay, I think this is a matter, like I said, I live in a district, I don't have a dog in this hunt, but I think it's a matter of government efficiency, for one thing, and fairness, okay? Why should some people pay to have their landscaping taken care of and some don't? I'm not volunteering to join one of these crazy things, but anyway, that's the way it is. That's the way it's perceived by everybody, okay? My recommendation is you consider disbanding the Melrose districts and just put it out there. Now, Paradise Valley and Rancho, I'm sure they want their landscaping taken care of. Their homeowners association can pick up the burden there. They pay their dues to the homeowners association. If they want to, they can shift whatever they're paying in the Melrose tax over there. Okay, boom. Government efficiency. You can probably get rid of several staffers that manage this crazy program. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. I want to improve the way we operate, the way you operate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Les Johnson, to be followed by Bro Abdur Rahman. Okay, but first we'll have Les.
Good evening, Vice Mayor.
Good evening.
Staff. My name is Les Johnson. I've been a resident of Rolling Hills for 35 years and have watched the landscaping deteriorate over the past several years. These LMDs and this 218 thing is a very complex issue. I don't pretend to know all about it, but I know that we, you all, and we have a common goal. We want the landscaping in the city of Fairfield to be top-notch. The only way we can do that is to pay a landscaper to come in and have it done. I would appreciate it if the council would approve a 218 vote next year. So I know that time is short, but I know that if we wait 3 years, the landscaping is going to deteriorate to the point where it's going to cost more to revitalize it and bring it up to par. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Nozizwi Bro Abdur Rahman, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Yes, good evening, City Council, staff members, and the audience. I am a fairly new resident of Fairfield, and I reside in the Rolling Hills Division. I am here to express my agreement for pausing 218, based on two reasons. As a new home buyer in Fairfield, my taxes have almost doubled based on the assessment costs relative to the former homeowners. My insurance costs have increased relative to the former homeowners because the house is being evaluated based on the new values. And we're looking at a relatively high and holding interest rates. They're holding very steady, which precludes the possibility right now of refinancing. So that's my first reason. Second, inflation is soaring. There's too much economic uncertainty due to the corporate style administration, current administration, with the downsizing of federal programs and departments. So in light of economic uncertainty, I think it's just good, sound economic decisions to hold off on anything that might incur an increase in costs for particularly the new citizens of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Brett Barner, to be followed by Jerry Widrick.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Vice Mayor Bertani, good evening.
Good evening.
City Council, good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. I also reside in the Rolling Hills neighborhood, and I ask that you reconsider the position on abandoning the LLMD process, and that will allow this issue to go to a vote in 2016 as opposed to, or excuse me, 2026 as opposed to 2027. It's an investment in the future. If you kick the can further down the road, as my neighbor Les said so eloquently, it will eventually become more of an expensive issue. Our neighborhood appearance has deteriorated, and this is negatively impacting our home values. As a homeowner, my home is my greatest investment, and the neighborhood, one of the reasons that I bought several years ago was the beautification of the neighborhood. It was lovely, and it's simply not the same anymore. So I do ask that you reconsider your positions on this issue. It also poses a risk associated with dry and unmaintained vegetation in the neighborhood as well. Fire is always on the forefront of our minds here in California. Right now is the best it's going to look. If you drive through Hillborn, which is a thoroughfare used by so many people, where so much of this landscaping has deteriorated, it looks terrible, and it's not a good look for Fairfield. So many people will base their perception of our city based on what they see just along Hillborn. So thank you for your time, and I do ask on the issue of the Landscape Oversight Committee that there is an enforcement policy. We're in the age of Zoom now. There's really no reason that somebody couldn't attend. So please consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Jerry Woodrick, to be followed by Elaine Gatka.
Good evening once again.
Good evening.
Behind Brett and Les, I totally 100% agree with them. I believe if you wait another couple months with the landscaping, it's gonna, once the rain stops, the grass is gonna die, the watering's gonna go down. So I'm really disappointed in the LLMDs. We need help, please. And a quick question, why was it paused? And was it a vote?
Yeah, it was a vote at our retreat, at our council retreat in January of this year. Yeah, it was a vote, I believe it was 5-2, to abandon the process for 2026, and that's it.
So the two voted for.
And
the
I
rest-
was one of those.
So what was the reasoning for the no vote? Why would they allow our neighborhood to go through this process, this negative process? What was their reasoning?
I'm certainly going to get into that on my side when we get back to council comments.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you've got us all here, so every man or woman can speak for themselves.
But I would like to know, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we have Elaine, to be followed by Rick Johnson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi. So I'm also, just want to mention, I'm speaking on my behalf, and also June Johnson. She wasn't able to be here this evening, but she knows what I'm about to say. So I've been a resident in Rolling Hills for almost 23 years. I've always considered our community as a little gem, hidden gem within Fairfield. And when we first moved here, aside from the great neighborhood, the great neighbors, the landscaping was beautiful. Rolling Hills, it sounded exactly like it looked, and it was beautiful. But of course, now with the LLMD situation, it has deteriorated so much just in the past few years. So it's really, really disappointing. Everybody has expressed that, and I don't think anybody thinks it otherwise. I'm also really disappointed that, aside from Pam, the vice mayor, and Kat Moy, that everybody else voted no on having the next 218 happen in 2027 instead of 2026. And postponing that vote, we don't have the luxury of time. The longer it goes the way it is, the more expensive it's going to be to fix, and the more difficult it's going to be to fix. So we really need to do this in 2026, not 2027. So I'm asking the City Council to vote to include the 218 vote in the 2026 timeframe. My understanding was always that City Council represents the residents here, and that no vote as far as my understanding, was without any discussion with your residents or the input of all residents, not just, as you said, just one district or another. This is for the whole city. So I'm not aware of anybody I certainly wasn't asked, but I appreciate, Pam, that you represent us. Absolutely. With all the people that have attended the meeting that are speaking, I think that speaks volumes that we do want this next year and not to wait to 27. Okay? And again, the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get and the more expensive it's going to be to fix it. So please reconsider your no votes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick Johnson, to be followed by Carol Haddock.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
It's normal. Thank you, Vice Mayor Bertani, for bringing this item back to the council for consideration. At the retreat, this item was the last on the agenda, and after an extended meeting, it really wasn't given the attention it deserved. I personally wasn't prepared. I apologize for my comment about tabling the item, as it was not my understanding that it would be dropped until 2026 for consideration. My understanding, it was for the 2026 ballot. This is a process that should have begun at once and then take as long as necessary to bring to a conclusion with the inclusion of the residents of the districts under review. The best campaign for new districts will be based on a thorough understanding of what the residents understood in the last campaign and why they did what they did, voting no or not voting at all. The new campaign would provide better answers. I am proposing that you consider the formation of an ad hoc 218 committee, along with exactly what Mr. Tonneson is suggesting, comprised of residents, public works, council members, landscape oversight committee members, all stakeholders part of that committee. And again, this committee would not be able to advocate. This is not going to be an advocating group. The group would identify the details of the past campaign's failures and successes to provide a credible action plan to form an effective 218 campaign that would be presented to you, the council, for your consideration at that point. You've not been given anything that's a solid package to vote on, really. The ad hoc group must be neutral, but serve as a point for contact for the residents to voice their frustrations, questions, and suggestions. They will present to you a new plan and methods to overcome the failures of the last campaign before engaging a new engineering company. A large part of the puzzle is the engineering firm. They are needed to create the engineer's report used to identify the per parcel assessment using well-supported and easily understood methods to assign the amount of benefit received by each parcel. There needs to be an exploration of options for each district that could result in a low, medium, and high cost options. It needs to be brought to the residents for their preference, so figure out what they're looking for, getting them behind it. The failed program spoke to this, but did a very poor job. They wanted to listen to what the people had to say, but there was no method of which they actually accomplished that.
You have about 10 seconds.
Oh, great. Unrealistic short timing of complicated matters resulted in the results received. The committee needs to form meaningful and realistic timelines that promote the likelihood of a well-communicated and well-understood campaign.
Your time's up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Carol Haddock, to be followed by Phil Shoemaker.
Good evening, City Council.
Good evening.
And I know 3 minutes go fast, and this is a very complicated issue. I'm just going to top line it. Karen is handing out something that I think makes this a really simple matter to understand. Basically, most of you know I worked very hard and diligently on the last 218 process, but it was too truncated. In fact, it was such a short window of time to go out and campaign to educate the homeowners about the item. I think we had 6 weeks from when the engineer's report came out to when the vote happened. you all run for office, you have a primary, you have a, vote in November. You're working on this for months and knocking on doors for months, and that's what is needed. And then we have other things that fall into the formula of, well, if we start to get an engineer report to do this, you have an RFQ and an RFP. Well, you can't start paying them until the next budget year, once the council approves that. So if you look at that, you start in July, you get your RFQ, you get RFP, you get a person on, they take 6 months to get your engineer's report, and then you probably need 4 or 5 months for citizens who can be biased to run around as a working group and talk to their neighbors. Most of these districts are 1,000 houses. I mean, there's some small ones like Waterman Highlands is less than 200. I gave you 3 different districts here because they're the worst 3. And if I had to include one more, it would be Green Valley, which is very complicated with 2,500 residents. But I would say pick 3. Do it right, take 18 months and do it. But we have to start now. You don't need to do all 7 because some of them have CPI inflators and they have enough money. And if you look at the key things here, here's Rolling Hills making $318,000 in assessments per year. It's been that way since the homes were built. My home was $250. That property is still getting $250 assessment. And that was from when President, Clinton or whatever was still here. So obviously there's inflation that's been missed. And if you look at the staff costs, $64,000, $76,000, $78,000, and we're still at $300,000 in assessments. Look at the landscaping, $186,000, $160,000. Oops, we're running out of money, $90,000. I mean, that's going to really hit. And you see that happens in fiscal 26, 27. And if you look the water and you go down and see the other districts, this is why we need to start working on this now. Do things that don't cost money. Find out, we have the votes, Chris gave them to us.
15 seconds.
Got it. So let's start working now. Let's get the money and get the RFQ, RFP for fall. Have the vote maybe September or October, and I'm sorry folks, but 2026, and hit the books on 2027. That's probably the most successful option. We won't waste money. Thank you. Anyone, you all have my number, you can all call me.
Thank you.
Phil Shoemaker. Sorry, I'm having a major allergy attack.
Good evening,
to be
council
followed by
members.
Phaedra.
Good
I've
evening.
lived in Fairfield for 29 years, and I also have noticed deterioration in our neighborhood. I would hope and I would urge that we could get a measure back on the ballot as quickly as possible. I consider it a matter of some urgency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phaedra Ellis Lampkins. She spoke earlier, but she had filled out a card for 03. So I don't have any other speaker cards. Did anyone else wish to speak? Okay. And ma'am, would you like to speak as well? Okay. Sure. What is your name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, William? Oh, Bill. And M-A-Y-B-E-N? Okay, thank you. This is Bill Mabin.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for taking a few moments. I'm the individual who organized and managed the open space fire mitigation on the 550 acres at Rancho Solano. The knolls on that property had never been looked at in regards to the fire danger. And to their credit, our HOA came forward and paid for that in 70 days, 70 working days of active fire mitigation. My view of the Rancho Solano Parkway is that it's our only fire evacuation route for 1,200 homes. Over 3,000 people need to come down that when the evacuation is called. I look at it several times a day driving up and down, and many of those trees are fire hazards. The pines have either been attacked by beetles or by climate change. They're bleeding sap on the outside of the bark. And I learned a lot in the course of those working days doing fire mitigation, and I read all of CAL FIRE's literature in regards to active participant fire mitigation projects. I think the challenges with our landscaping that the city is managing is the fire danger more than anything. There's the appearance, but I'm concerned about using that evacuation route if the fire comes from a direction that we don't expect. And I'm concerned about the adjacent neighbors to the east of Rancho Solano Parkway. A lot of these foliage areas are up against or near the fence, and those houses are endangered. There are specific guidelines in CAL FIRE that have been studied by engineers and has been executed by many counties, and we use their precepts on clearing and trimming. And that to me is the biggest problem, is health and safety, and the other issues of vitality. These have been in place for 30 some odd years, and the climate has changed, and many of them are suffering. So we need to rethink it, not just go and do a little trimming and a little raking, but we need to rethink it. Some trees need to come out. We need to do some thinning and consider replanting with oaks, Diablo,
15 seconds.
Diablo Nursery has 12 varieties of highly resilient oak trees that were brought up from southern climates that can resist the coming and present environmental hazards here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next is Jessie Bell.
Thank you very much. This is my first council meeting, so thank you, Vice Mayor and council
Thank you.
members. I am from District 1, Green Valley area. I just wanted to say I'm concerned about the fire hazard with what's happening with our landscaping up there, and Green Valley Road is the only access way out for those on Upper Green Valley, which I'm not sure if they were part of that proposition, if they were part of that assessment or not. I was told they were not. But right now we have a tree trunk that's probably 3 feet long and about 36 to 48 inches in diameter, that's just sitting. They've been doing the landscaping around that. It's just sitting on the side of the road where people walk next to the sidewalk. There's also fallen trees that are sitting on the side where we have it's a metal thing so people, cars won't go in there, but the trees are just hanging there. They're down. And I've also been seeing a lot of the branches from the median. They're in the road. They're going to fall on a car. So we have fire and safety issues going on with this landscape that's not being maintained. I know a lot of people didn't vote for the proposition because larger properties were assessed a lot more money, and they just felt they couldn't afford it. So I don't know if there's another way we can make it more equitable, but I think that's partially why it failed. But we're fire hazard there. We are a high fire danger in that area. And the way the weeds are growing up, and then they're going to get dry, the grasses die, the trees are not healthy, the limbs are falling down on Green Valley Road. It's going to hit a car, it's going to hit somebody. We're in trouble. Please help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone else wish? Okay. Next is Perry Polk. Pattis. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for meeting. I am retired now, and I agree with everything everyone said, but I spend a lot of time walking around the neighborhoods, and in the last couple years, I mean, I've been here 16 years now, and in the last couple years, you can just see that all the dead trees, all the people cutting all the trees down in front of their houses, and it's just not the same neighborhood that it used to be when I moved in, and we need to do something about this, okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, there are no hands raised online, Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. And colleagues, any comments?
If the community wants to bring them back, let's bring them back. What I recall at the retreat meeting was that Mr. Rick, I don't recall your last name, I apologize, sir. Johnson. At least from my recollection, I was under the opinion that he was the one kind of sharing his insight with us as the council that the community was not in favor. And that significantly influenced me because he was out there in the community and he shared his opinion that from an on-the-ground assessment that at this point in time there was not a majority in favor of taxing themselves. And if that's changed now since then, I'm open to reconsidering my view on this, but from that retreat when we first made this decision, that was my understanding from his statement and his position at the time, and that's where I was at back then. If things have changed, hey, let's do it.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So you have to excuse me because I'm navigating digital, trying to go paperless, and paper. So I might need a few minutes to get recalibrated. So there is a lot of vegetation deteriorating. I mean, that's clear. But my concern remains the same. I don't want to just put this on the ballot and it fail again. I want a approach that makes sense. I want to know and I want an approach that is, I want an approach, period. So which of these, we have, I think, 7 that failed, yes? We have 7 that failed by how much, would be a question. And do we have champions, and that could be 218, or that could just be community champions, and we have them. Sue is gone, she is one, that can educate the community on what this is. Vice Mayor, I think it was you that had an idea, that, we have this is what landscaping look like, this is what it looks like today, this is what it's gonna look like going forward. Just give me something, give me some type of approach, give me some type of survey that lets us know that they have and hope to get over the finish line. I don't want to spend $50,000 per landscape committee for engineering reports and whatever it costs for outreach. What was the outreach cost?
Approximately $25,000 per district.
Yeah, I just don't want to throw that all out times 7 districts. I just want a measured approach. If they all will pass, let's do it. If it's just 2 that's ready, let's do those. But I just want data. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilmember Tonneson?
So, all for it. You guys want to bring it back because it's going to be citizen led because we're finding out more and more and more about this. The first process was bad. That's how nice I can be about that. I've heard worse verbiage. So what do we do? How do we, the city can only do so much. Is there some engineering things reports we can pay for? Are there things the city can do? I know it's not a lot. I know it's a campaign that the city really we can't go out there and hold signs and campaign and pass this and would an ad hoc committee, and I'm just going all over because whenever you guys want to do it again is fine with me. But is an ad hoc committee, isn't that an advocate for, if we had somebody for an ad hoc, Mr. City Attorney shaking his head, that's an advocate, you're advocating for the passage of a 218.
And just to clarify, I don't mean to be coy by nodding. I haven't done the research. I would need to go do more work, but the thought of forming an ad hoc committee to figure out how to pass it sounds a lot like electioneering to me. And that's what I heard, that we need to form an ad hoc committee to figure out where we went wrong so that we can make sure this passes. Those are the exact words I heard. That sounds very much like electioneering, and I think it is very dangerous that it will draw a challenge, even if it passes, that the city inserted itself into the electioneering process.
So piggybacking on that, it's not we're elected by districts. It's the way it is. But my colleagues up here certainly know that how much I drive this city and how involved I am in getting out into all districts. And I see what you see. And I want it fixed too. I want to do whatever we can. But it has to be citizen-led. It just can't be, and I see of the speakers tonight, I'm thinking that Carol and Rick would make good chairs, but it's going to be literally a campaign. So you're going to have campaign managers. You're going to have that the city. I know that we'll do as much as we can without advocating for the 218s. We all want them to pass, but it's just a sticky subject. So I'm certainly open to any questions you have or any options that you can come up with that we all want this to pass. We all want the 218s to pass. We all want a beautiful city. So, that's my comments. Thanks, Madam Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Sandhu? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Councilmember Panduro.
Thank you. So I had a question. So whether we call it an ad hoc or a stakeholder committee, what would that look like? Like, I know that the LLMD committee cannot promote the 218, correct? So it would have to be a separate committee, or what would that look like?
Yeah, landscape, right, and the city attorney can speak to it better than me, but effectively public employees, right, you cannot use public dollars to advocate, to electioneer one way or another. So one of the frustrations that, we can point back to the last effort, and of course, hindsight's always 20/20 in terms of identifying, what went wrong. We can resolve some of those things. The biggest complaint I think that we heard here, and that I've heard certainly from residents, is the methodology, right? So there has to be a rate and method of apportionment to confer special benefit versus general benefit. NBS has a methodology that they utilized. We got late in the game then, and so there was no opportunity really to tweak that. They utilized that methodology because in their argument, it is legally defensible. It has stood up in court challenges under Proposition 218. That's why they use the methodology that they do. That said, there was also times where we were asked to, oh, well, city, you ought to phrase it this way or phrase it that way. And when those requests would come along, we would check with city attorney's office and they'd say, no, that's advocacy. You cannot phrase things in a way that sort of insinuates how somebody should vote on the 218 ballot. So the sort of general information that we're able to put out is what we attempted to do. And I know, Chris had, various town halls, Zoom meetings, and was going out to coffee shops and, different groups. So, I think ultimately, as city manager, there's a few different things I would recommend for you if you wanted to go down this path, which I think I'm hearing is where the council's at. Number one, it's sort of been stated or discussed, but 7 districts, I think maybe it was Carroll, 7 districts, right? We tried to chew off 9 districts last time. That was clearly too many. Partially because in certain districts, as we attempted to do outreach to find those passionate residents like we had in Paradise Valley, had in Rancho Solano, had in Rolling Hills, some of these districts, nobody stepped to the front to say, yeah, I'm out here, I'm leading the effort to try to, talk to my neighbors to get something passed. So my first recommendation would be narrow this down. In listening to all the speakers here tonight, I heard people from Rolling Hills, Rancho Solano, and just Rick from Paradise Valley. I think he's speaking more broadly since Paradise Valley's LLMD did pass, and I think one person from the North Cordelia district. Seems to me, just from an observation, then the most passion is likely in Rancho Solano, Rolling Hills, and pick a third, right? Do you want to do Waterman Highlands, North Cordelia? Where is it that we think we're going to have the passionate residents that are going to step forward to be a big part of this? As Ms. Lewis pointed out, North Cordelia is a difficult district, or somebody pointed out, I'm sorry, because maybe it was Carol, there's just a lot of homes. It's just a huge district. You have a lot of homes, so the effort to get out, engage, as you all know from campaigning, it's a lot of work to go walk door to door and knock and talk and educate, especially on a technically complex topic like this. So I think you up the odds of potential success if you narrow down into extreme focus. And I've heard Mr. Johnson say it in the past, if you start having successes, then other people start to see, okay, there's successes, and it sort of rolls into a better approach. To Councilmember Williams' comments on just want to see an approach. I know that this is something that the Landscape Oversight Committee, a couple meetings ago, unfortunately I missed it, I was out of town, and I know there's a lot of discussion on what does that approach look like. Anytime we do something like this, my first recommendation is start from where you need to be and work backwards to identify what needs to happen by when. So the timing on 26, right? So as the discussion relates to a 2026 vote, that has to be in such time, and Chris might know more of the specifics, but our deadline to place this, to get this to the county assessor's office in order for it to be placed on the tax rolls of each year is August 10th. So 2025, to be placed on the 25-26 assessment rolls, not possible, right? We just don't have that time. Now, a 26 vote, sometime in early 2026, when we did this a couple years ago, I think the vote was in April, and there was delays in the engineers' reports that again led to that truncated timeline. I believe when, Chris, correct me where I'm wrong, but I think on the engineers' reports, we determined it was probably about 4 months in order to do revised engineers' reports.
I think we took in total a little more like 6 months.
6 months.
For the whole process, yeah. It was,
Okay.
It was more like 6
so,
months.
Legally under 218, you're going to have an engineer's report. And if that's going to take 6 months, you give us that direction tonight, then we're going to start moving lickety-split to find an engineering firm to identify those methodologies. But even starting now, that puts you into October, November. So what I want to make sure to really sort of just be blunt with all of our residents who are passionately advocating for this and that I know want to do the legwork, and they will do the legwork of some form of campaign committee. We're likely to find ourselves right back in the same position where any slight delays, you're talking October, November, potentially December, again, just assuming any delays and trying to get feedback on methodology then that's defensible. Now you're right at the end of the year where there's an engineer's report available, and by about April, you're going to have a vote. And so it's a tight timeline. So I want to be honest there. We can do those engineers' reports. The price range in the market, as we've checked this a couple of times, you're generally in the $40,000 to $50,000 per engineering report. So that's what the firms that specialize in doing this will do. One of the other sort of complicating factors, it's just amazing how complicated this is. Thank everybody who voted for Proposition 218 way back in the day. Another complicating factor is that right now, the districts have loans, right? Partially, they have loans, like in Rolling Hills, in order to continue maintaining the landscaping at a certain level. But there was also loans that were given from the general fund to the districts in order to pay for the 218 process. Those districts now are repaying those funds. So I think a decision before the council, or at least we would want direction on, is are you asking for the general fund to pay for those 218s? And if so, is that once again a loan to where if a LLMD vote fails, then that now is less landscape maintenance that district is going to be able to provide in order to pay that back. If it passes, then all is good, it's paid back, and it moves along. So that's a lot. I'm talking too much. I can tell by the vice mayor's look. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I just do need to add just a reminder that in addition to these 7, we do have those 3 districts that I mentioned that within the next couple years, we're needing to start the process now. I'm working on an item to bring to you guys for us to start the process on a Prop 218 vote for those 3 districts that have not yet gone through this process. They don't have a shortfall yet, but they are facing one in the near future. So in addition to these 7.
Councilmember Sandhu?
Mr. City Manager, you mentioned the April election, but could we do the November 26th election, or is it only April?
These are mail ballots. They're not on a general election ballot. So it's a mail ballot that goes out to property owners that then have a certain amount of time, I think it's 45 or 60 days, to return the ballot back to the clerk's office. We take it sealed, and then we have an opening where each of the ballots are reviewed.
Can we place it on the general? Are we allowed to put it on the general?
No, it's property-based under Proposition 218. I'll let the city attorney speak to that.
So this is not the time or place to give a lecture on Proposition 218, but I will.
Amen.
But I think, as a city attorney, it's worth mentioning, because we do have council members who were not here when the first go-round went, and there are council members here, I think, who have not gone through a Prop 218 process. I think it'd be helpful if you want to set up private meetings with me or Robin Harris on our staff, who is our Prop 218 expert. I'm a generalist. I know just enough about Prop 218 to be dangerous for Mr. Takeuchi to run circles around me if I start trying to talk with specificity about Prop 218. But I think what's important for this council to understand is that Prop 218 came out of a voter revolt, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, it's true, in 1996. That basically wanted to change the California Constitution to take the ability of local agencies to tax property, and it succeeded. So basically, any special tax which affects a property owner and that specific property owner and is used for a specific purpose, not for the general good, is subject to Prop 218, which means it must go to the voters that are affected, that would pay that property tax. It requires a 2/3 vote, and because it was born out of a voter revolt, local governments are specifically prohibited from taking a position. That's why the prohibitions against electioneering are so dire, because the whole purpose was to remove the ability of local agencies to assess special taxes against property owners. And I'm not being political, that's just what it says, and it is the law of the land. And so it has to go to the voters in a very neutral way. Individual private citizens can advocate for it, obviously, but a local agency under the Constitution, under 218, cannot advocate for it. Otherwise, you're running afoul of 218. And there is a ton of litigation around that issue where local agencies get in trouble. Why the reason you will hear me and most city attorneys urge caution around 218 is just because it is a very complicated area. And there is a lot of moving pieces to it. There's been a lot of decisions over the years. And as I've told all of you as your city attorney, my job is to steer you to safe shores, because ultimately, if we end up in a fight over 218, that's coming out of the general fund. And you're paying for legal costs out of the general fund. So again, I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but it's worth mentioning and reminding you that the 218 process was designed to put the power back in the hands of the property owners affected to whether or not they want to pass it or not. So.
Thank you. Out of the 7 that are left, which one came closest to passing this past go-around?
I do have that information. Give me just one moment.
I believe it was Rancho Solano.
Oh, thank you.
And it requires a two-third vote to pass?
It's majority, for assessments, yeah. Assessments, it's majority.
As I said, I know just enough to be dangerous.
Are we allowed to levy a smaller assessment and go for a simple majority? Is there an option there, like a bond, or?
No.
No? It's only all or nothing?
It's a majority of the ballots cast. So we send out the ballots to every property owner who's impacted. However many ballots come back, if a majority of those ballots that come back are yes, then it passes. It's weighted. Again, that's where it gets into the complexity of the methodology and the valuation of, of the assessment, all that, yeah.
I guess just to wrap up my position here, to what the city manager said, 2 or 3 probably seems reasonable, if that, maybe 1 or 2. I think we all know the situation of our general fund, so spending like $1 million or something just on reports would be an option.
I agree with that. I just, mindful of the city staff's time, because staff is only going to work on the engineering report. Where you start blurring the line is when you're basically campaigning. Is that correct, City Attorney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Williams.
So, thank you, Councilmember Sandhu, for that line of questioning. So it's really important that we get this right. The fact that a losing LLMD is a loan back to that LLMD, if I repeated that right, City Manager, so a losing really puts them in a double negative in my mind, so the landscaping budget getting worse, the less money going into that LMD. So I just want to double down, and we've got to get this right. And so I don't know if this is appropriate for us to get more data, like maybe a recommendation on a limited number of what is likely to pass. Why do you think it's likely to pass or not? I don't know. I just feel like we need more information, is how I feel, to make the right decision.
And I will just add, we'll start off with a question, Chris. Will the engineering report process be informed by the fact that we just recently went through an engineering process? In other words, might that process be expedited by the simple fact that we just went through it?
I would like to say yes, but unfortunately, I don't think so. And the reason why is these assessment engineers, they do their due diligence to do their own research. So while I have some of the data that NBS used to form the engineers' reports, a lot of that data is already public at the county. And so a lot of these consultants just go and pull that data, and then they, apply their methodology to that data. If they have questions about specific parcels, then they'll come to the city or the county and ask those questions to come up with the final report. So I don't think that any of the data that that NBS pulled would be usable for the next consultant, especially since a lot of these.
Unbelievable. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, unless we use NBS, then I think there would be some economies there because they've already done a lot of that analysis.
Okay. And I'll just say that, we have done the postmortem on what went wrong. The Landscape Oversight Committee in December discussed the strategy for moving forward. Of course, I agree with the city attorney 100%, no advocacy. But advocacy was not the main problem here. People did not understand this issue. People didn't understand it. In fact, great example, one of the members of the Landscape Oversight Committee currently a member of the Landscape Oversight Committee, was a gentleman who was vehemently against the LLMD initially. But once somebody showed up to his door, a neighbor, explained what this is, what it means to our property values, what it means to the city, he now has stepped up with enthusiasm to serve on the committee. So I believe that we don't need to keep beating the same dead. We know what didn't work. It wasn't communicated properly. In fact, I'm looking at my December 10th, 2024 notes from the Landscape Oversight Committee. Strategy, engagement. We need a pre-survey strategy. The city council voted to have a survey go out, I don't know how long ago. We haven't gotten that done. Like the lady said earlier, the Landscape Oversight Committee, for whatever reasons and quorum and all that stuff, we need to get the survey done. The city council has already approved that. I also have here grassroots strategy. This is December 10th. 2024 meeting, grassroots strategy, clear communication, reverse engineering our timeline, and just the community helping to inform our neighbors of what this actually means. It's communication, communication, communication. We also talked about the strategy at our Thursday, February 27, 2025 Landscape Oversight Committee meeting. And once again, we have identified that we need people in the community, force multipliers, which was another part of the strategy of increasing the number of Landscape Oversight Committee members to get more people involved. But that's fine. We'll work with what we have. But the bottom line is this: we have to let people need to understand this issue. Coming home at 6 o'clock, commuting in from Sacramento, I'm not reading the engineering report, period. I'm not doing it. And if I could do it at 6 o'clock the next morning, still wouldn't understand it. We have to communicate clearly. And so I believe that we have learned from our mistakes. I believe that we're up for doing this. And I think that with the right force multipliers in the neighborhoods, helping to explain this, not to advocate, just to explain it. Clear communication is what we need. Not, what's a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, with that said, I strongly recommend that we pick this issue up and that we have a strategy. Councilmember Williams, like you said, we've got the strategy. We've already talked about it. Or at least we've started talking about it. But if we're going to do this, we need to get to work. We need to get to work, and we need to get to work right now. We know what we need to do. We need to get out and talk to we need to have our survey. We need the survey. We've approved the survey. Let's do the survey, and let's do that correctly. But no matter what, we have to start. If we have a fighting chance, we have to start now. And the engineering report is going to come in whenever the engineering report comes in. But that doesn't stop us from having a Saturday morning town hall meeting in these neighborhoods to say, look, this is what's up. Here's what's coming with the LLMD. We don't have the engineering report yet, but based on our last engineering report, we just want to share with you what this means. We want to answer questions. We want to engage people. People support what they help to create. It's as simple as that. And I think also that now that residents have gotten a chance to see what your neighborhood is going to look like if you don't move on this. See, that's what's, so not only listen to us, look at, as you drive down Hillborn, take a look. This is what it's looking like. When you're going up Rancho Solano Parkway, slow down and take a look. So we have that working for us as well. So I strongly support moving this effort forward because as as Les Williams, the longer we kick this can down the road, the more expensive it's going to cost us to get it back to where it needs to be for our neighborhoods to look the way they need to look. So I'm 100% ready, willing, and able to continue working on the Landscape Oversight Committee and to continue engaging our different strategies of making sure that people understand what this means. So I'm 2 thumbs up.
Can the citizens have a say in who the engineering firm is? Or if there's a committee? Because you didn't like the last one, did you? Can I answer the question for you? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. That's up to Pam.
Yes. Here, there. It's asking the questions of the engineering company. What is your plan? How do you figure these numbers? What is your process? And again, that's what the working group or ad hoc would be, is a process group only. But yes, you can ask the engineering company, and they should. I've already provided that. The last one, I didn't see it. How do you come up with it? How does a house that's 300 square feet bigger than another one get more enjoyment of landscaping? They have to have that answer.
I think what I'm asking probably, Chris, is are there multiple engineering firms to choose from?
Yes,
and the citizens or the LOC can have a say in that?
I found 10.
Huh?
I found 10.
Pick one.
We need
And let me add, Councilmember Tonneson, that I believe the city manager mentioned this, but 218 requires that there be some process by which these determinations are made. So the Landscape Oversight Committee is not free, or any of us are not free to say, look, this is how we want you to do it, right? I mean, there has to be a 218 approved methodology for assigning the property, the LLMD amounts to each parcel that's affected in that district. We can't tell the engineers what to do.
No. We just need to understand it.
We can understand it, but we can't tell them what to do.
Yeah, we can't tell them what to do. We can, there's some way in terms of, here's, I've heard it said, good, better, best, right? Here's options on the costs. And then in terms of those proportionalities, each firm, I think that we've talked to, they have a slight variation, on the methodology that they prefer. What we can do, and just to move this item forward, is why don't we do an RFP and put that out and have firms give us proposals for how many districts. You all specify for us what districts that you want us to go for. We'll put out an RFP. We'll get back proposals from firms. We'll do a preliminary staff review, and then we'll take that to the Landscape Oversight Committee and get their input on which firm to use and which methodology, so that they're driving that. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to be down the path later on and this fails and it's the methodology.
Right.
Right.
So I would actually make that a motion. I will make that a motion so we can move this down the line. Pretty much what you just said. Rick, did you have anything else to add on the engineering?
Really what we're doing is the working group concept that I was recommending is we need to do that, get that information, and then give that to you, but you're doing it now, so.
Okay.
Lightly though.
Thank you. I'm sorry, lightly?
I mean, it's hard to get in depth at this level of meeting that a working group can do over the course of a couple of weeks.
Okay, so
but before you all go to seconding, let me ask some clarifying questions for the motion I think you're about to make, Madam Vice Mayor. So go RFP process to get firms and methodologies, and then work through the Landscape Oversight Committee to select a firm to do the reports. Second clarifying question then is how many districts and which districts in particular do you want to see us pursuing? Or if you want to, at this point in time, just give us a number and then we can work on in the next month or so, which districts, 2, 3?
I believe Rancho Solano, I believe Rolling Hills, and I believe Waterman Heights.
Waterman Highlands?
I mean,
Yeah,
Waterman
yeah,
Highlands.
Yeah, okay. So 3 districts.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
Whatever LOC wants, but I just want to be mindful of staff's time too. You know, we're not making sure that we're not violating any election laws.
Yeah, no, but we're good. We will make
Yeah,
sure
whatever you
not,
guys want.
we're going to make sure not do that. And then the third question is, I think Mr. Takeuchi brings up a good point. Would you want to give me direction to engage with, for example, Rancho Solano? Rancho Solano has an HOA. The HOA comprises all of the homes in all of Rancho Solano, to see if the Rancho Solano HOA has any interest in taking on the contract for landscaping under the HOA. There would be advantages to that. You wouldn't spend $50,000 on an engineering report. You wouldn't have to do the rate and method of apportionment. You wouldn't have to do a ballot and a vote. The HOA, they may need to have that vote of their HOA members, but otherwise, they could just take that on, and you as the city council, as we go into this next LLMD cycle usually in July, ahead of the August 10th deadline for the assessor's office, then you just reduce the existing LLMD down just to cover the cost of streetlight maintenance, and then they shift. So for a resident of Rancho Solano, that means they wouldn't pay for it on their property tax bill as an assessment. They would just pay for it as a cost under their HOA bill.
And so that is interesting, is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, but that's, the residents of Rancho Solano need to make that determination. We can't sit here in absentia and make a you know what I mean?
Absolutely. All I'm asking is, do you want to provide the direction?
That's a clarifying point on what you just said.
Yeah.
Rancho Solano residents need to make that determination.
Absolutely. The question is within your motion, do you want to just ask me to go have those conversations, at least to start?
Well, we're going up there on Thursday night, and we'll be talking about this, of course,
Well, we're gonna be
at the
talking about-
meeting on Thursday.
I thought that was
but-
fire safety.
But, yeah, sure. And this is a fire safety issue, right, with all the dead trees and everything. So, so we're saying move forward with getting RFPs on the engineering reports that will be reviewed by the Landscape Oversight Committee meeting at Rick's, with his expertise and all that stuff. And I think I said, and please weigh in, Rolling Hills, Rancho Solano, Waterman Highlands, with the possibility that Rancho may go a different direction after we explain to them what that direction might be. But for now, I say Rancho is on the list. So those are my 3.
So, can I ask some clarifying questions surrounding North Cordelia?
Sure.
And you might have to dig for it, I know, but how close were we to our 2/3 vote? Also, if I understand, part B, it sounds like it's a bigger LMD than others. How much bigger?
By about 1,000 parcels. North Cordelia has about 2,600 parcels, 2,674 parcels in that district, as opposed to Rolling Hills, 1,200, Rancho Solano, 1,100 out there, Waterman Highlands, Pepper Tree, hundreds, just a couple hundred. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. And so as it is weighted, and it failed by a margin of 33% voting yes and 66% voting no. Now, that's, of course, the weighted ballot numbers, not necessarily 33% of parcels voted no, but just 33% of the weighted ballots. Voting yes.
33 of ballots received.
Correct, yes.
Boy, that seems like
Weighted. Of the ballots received, we weight the ballots that are received.
Oh, got it.
How many ballots voted no and yes? Oh, okay, so we had 294 ballots voting yes, and 488 ballots voting no. But again, it's not by ballot count, it's by the weight of each of those ballots.
Of ballots received.
Of ballots received, correct.
What is, how could we, okay, so we talked about surveys. A pre-survey, a survey strategy. What is how can we do that, target districts to see to get a temperature check? What is the likelihood of there being a movement from the no's to the yeses?
Yeah, that's part of the survey strategy that Vice Mayor Bertani was talking about that was authorized back in October of 2024. We kind of struggle with trying to figure out how we can target just the homes in the districts because we don't have their email addresses or phone numbers. We can send out a mailing, but of course that is, that's highly, highly expensive, thousands of dollars per mailing.
And ineffective.
And in some cases, it was ineffective. We have heard a lot of folks say that, it's kind of gets piled into junk mail sometimes. We've sent out little postcards, we've sent out full sheet flyers, things in city branded envelopes, and it's just not always getting looked at. We have spoken to MAUD to see if there's some sort of online survey we can do, and maybe we could push it out on maybe Nextdoor or some Facebook groups. But again, you're targeting just the people in those particular, for Nextdoor, for example, you're just targeting neighborhoods, and those people would have to be on Nextdoor to receive that survey. So I think it's kind of difficult, aside from direct mailing, to target those neighborhoods through any sort of online attempt. We don't have anything that is just LLMD.
Yeah, because unlike voter registration data, you can't just go buy data to say, okay, give me all the cell phones and let's push a survey like you can with voter registration data. The law allows that for registered voters. It doesn't allow that just for property owners.
Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to do is imagine a pathway for North Cordelia. If there's enough energy, champions out there to cover that much roadway. So if this goes to RFP and somehow, like maybe we have like a town hall or just something that we have where it looks like we have enough energy. Could we add, after the RFP process, can we be added on if we can garner enough interest later?
I mean, effectively, I mean, we would have to sort of put that in the RFP because
It's so big.
It's so big, and it would be tough to sort of say, hey, maybe in 2 months' time or however long, we might add in this other district. That is what I foresee as the challenge. So I don't have a good answer for you, I guess, is the simplistic way to put it.
Is there any other districts that are close? Like we just named 3. If we're going to name a 4th, which one is it?
No, the other districts were Rolling Hills, 40% no, 59% or 41% yes, and 59% no in Rolling Hills. That's probably the closest.
Okay.
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Sendu?
At least as one individual, I'm not ready to decide on which ones to go after quite yet without some sort of presentation on how things have gone. I do appreciate the ones you've put out already, but without knowing more background, it'd be hard to just support it right out of the gate. I wouldn't want to pick the wrong ones now and have all this effort go into without a little more I guess, presentation from staff on the results, how many people in each one, and just a bit more of a thing, before we just picked and ran with it now, as that's just me as one individual. So like in 2 weeks from now, I'd be fully on board after we could get just a little more information on the last election results. Because I think I'm coming in a little more cold than some of you guys, which I got to catch up a little bit. That just for now, that's kind of where I'm at. But picking I'd be more comfortable with 2 to 3, but not 4 from my end. I don't know which 2 or 3 or 4.
And
3,
again, just a
but-
reminder, we have those 3 that we do have to do in the next 2 years. Otherwise, we're
Are
going
those
to be
the
in
ones you
another
said?
situation.
Those 3?
No, these are 3 different ones. But basically, any of the LLMDs within the city of Fairfield that were adopted prior to 1996 have to go through this process.
So in 2 years, we'll be at
so,
10?
Yeah, most all of them since. We've added CPI to them, so annually they keep up with the cost of inflation. Might I make a suggestion for you all? How about we take this question to the Landscape Oversight Committee, where you've got members from each of the districts, and we can come back with more information and a recommendation from the Landscape Oversight Committee.
That's fine with me.
Third?
Well, I think we got direction then.
No, but I say that, but I'll just end with this. We're on the clock right now. We're on the clock, and it's an unforgiving clock. So we really need to get to work. We all need to get up to speed, get whatever we need. We need to get moving. We need to get to work right now. So we need to come back to the next city council meeting with whatever this information is. We need to get this moving at the city council meeting on April 16th or whenever it is.
Okay.
But wait, when does the Landscape Oversight Committee meet?
Yeah, we cannot get to the Landscape Oversight Committee and get back by April 15th, but the timing is fine. And the reason I say that is because in order for us to go out and do an RFP, that's going to take at a minimum 30 days anyways. So that gives us, we have time. I hear the passion to get moving. If we're going to do this and make it successful, I completely agree. Then this has to be a priority. And that means that may sort of take precedent over some of the other priorities that the city council identified at your retreat. But we will go forward, and so we're looking at 3 districts as of right now: Rancho Solano, Rolling Hills, and Madam Vice Mayor, I think you said Waterman Highlands. Waterman Highlands, but we'll also get some input from Landscape Oversight Committee if those are the 3 appropriate ones, or looking at North Cordelia. We'll put out the RFP. We'll take those results to the Landscape Oversight Committee for their input on the engineer. And in the meantime, after we've talked at the next meeting, because I think there's a special meeting coming up, Rick, for Landscape Oversight Committee meeting later this month, right?
What is the date of that meeting?
17th.
April 17th?
So we can come back at the first meeting in May and have an update on all of the data and what they recommend in terms of which districts to pursue. In that same time, then, the RFP can be out, which, again, we start doing things in parallel.
So at the
We
May 6th...
We can walk and chew gum, I promise.
At the May 6th meeting, we'll have the information that we need
Correct.
on the LLM, okay.
Yeah, with a recommendation from the Landscape Oversight Committee.
Okay.
Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir.
To maybe help move this along quicker, if it's possible to add this as an item for next week's meeting for the study session, if that'd be helpful. We have one scheduled for next week, right? The budget one? Okay. It was just another opportunity for us all to get together, you know? We'll all be here.
I think that we have our marching orders, and I think, sir, that you have some homework to do. You need to get up to, we all need to get up to speed on it. All of us do. So, with that said, do I need to make a motion, or do you have clear, okay, I don't need to make a motion. We have clear direction. That is it on this topic. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being so patient and sticking it out with us. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Okay, item...
John, you've got 5 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Item 04.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe.
Resolution 2025-51, City of Fairfield Community Facilities District Number 2016-1 Special Tax Bonds Issuance and Sale, authorizing the issuance and sale of special tax bonds for City of Fairfield Community Facilities District Number 2016-1 Villages at Fairfield with respect to its improvement area B, and approving and authorizing related documents and actions. And our presenter is our Director of Finance, John Furtado.
I'm done. Wow.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'll try to do this very quickly.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please recognize we still have the meeting going on. There's still items that the council has to consider.
So what we have today is a resolution to approve. Let me give a little bit of background. This is for the villages at Fairfield. The CFD was formed in 2016 with the authorization to issue $25 million in debt. In 2019, we issued around $19.8 million in debt. So there's a 5.13 remaining authorization that the developer is interested in now pulling on or drawing upon. So the current request is to issue up to $5 million in bonds. The true interest cost anticipated for this is around 4.97. We could go right up to 5.5%, so that's on the lower side. And the required value to burden ratios, the value of the land to issue the bonds is 4:1. This CFD currently has around 11:1. So what we are asking of council today is procedural. You have already approved the 25 million in the past, so this is just to issue the new 5 million. So we require the continuance disclosure certificate to be approved, the preliminary offer statement, which will be in the supplement to the fiscal agent agreement, as well as the bond purchase agreement. And I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing.
It's not a public hearing.
Oh,
The next item is.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad.
04.
We're on 04. I am sorry about that. Okay, do we have any speakers on this item?
No, we do not.
All right. Any comments? Anyone wish to speak? Please do so now. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-51.
So moved.
So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And our final item is the public hearing, item P1.
Resolutions 2025-52 and 2025-53, North Texas Street Business Improvement District. Resolution 2025-52, levying an assessment for calendar year 2025 for the North Texas Street Business Improvement District, and Resolution 2025-53, approving an agreement with the North Texas Street Business Association for the calendar year 2025 operation and administration of the North Texas Street Business Improvement District. And our presenter is Jennifer Rice, our real estate specialist. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'll try and be as fast as John was. Vice Mayor Bertani and members of the City Council. My name is Jennifer Rice, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist for the City of Fairfield. Tonight, I'm back to present two items regarding the North Texas Street Business Improvement District. As you're aware, the City Council established the North Texas Business Improvement District in 1999, and the ability to levy assessments on the businesses within the district. The City Council appointed the North Texas Street Business Association as the advisory board to make recommendations and manage the funds collected. At our last council meeting on March 18th, the City Council approved the advisory report and budget prepared by the advisory board, as well as declared its intention to levy the assessments against the businesses located within the district for the calendar year 2025. Tonight, I'm here to meet the public hearing requirement for the levying of the assessments, as well as to ask for your approval of the agreement for 2025 between the City of Fairfield and the North Texas Street Business Association to provide services and activities proposed in the advisory report. The agreement states that the $58,000 estimated to be collected in 2025 can be used on a variety of categories. These range from marketing and advertising, staffing, community events, and beautification. North Texas Street Business Association has also decided to continue its contract with the Fairfield Sassoon Chamber of Commerce to help implement these services. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Nice report. And I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers on this item?
No.
All right, anyone wishing to speak now, please do so. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-52.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously. If we have no other business before this council, good night, everyone.
You have one more resolution.
You have a second resolution.
Second resolution. And do we have any?
Cam,
did we
slow
receive-
down. What are you doing?
I appreciate the gusto, but let's.
Don't slow down.
I am sorry.
Two for me.
No public speakers.
Oh, now we have 53. I'm sorry. My
For the
apologies.
agreement as well. Say, it's all on the one.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-53?
So moved.
Thank you. All right, it's been seconded. All in favor? All right.
Can we add a couple more items?
Yes, we can. Let me reopen the public. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so good night, everyone. Thank you for a great meeting.